So if you've been curious about how to make your own fermented pickles, check out today's Motivational Monday. Hey everybody, and welcome to Motivational Monday, where you can learn how simple shifts in your habits can lead to profound results in the way that you feel and in the way that you look. A few weeks ago, I released a video on fermented foods, and that was a pretty big hit. Apparently people out there are very curious about fermented foods, how to get them in their diet, what they look like, what they should be doing. So today I thought, let's make a really easy, simple fermented food recipe that you can make at home and you can include in your diet in a really simple and delicious way. So we're going to make fermented pickles. So in order to make this recipe, you obviously first need to start out with cucumbers. And I got these cucumbers in my health food store, and I chose them because they fit nicely into my mason jar. But any kind of cucumber is fine. What you want to avoid is any sort of vegetable that has the waxy quality to it, that they spray wax on to increase their shelf life. That's going to give it a weird quality, and it might not let the brine penetrate the cucumber and actually allow it to pickle. So a fresh cucumber, clean it well, slice it up. You want to make sure that you cut off the tops of it, because this will keep it from getting overly mushy while they ferment. So make sure you do that. And then as far as the shape of cutting them, that's really a preference. You can cut them into discs, you can cut them into spears. If they're too thin, they might the brine might get in there too much and make them a little bit mushy, but there are things that you can do to mitigate that. So you need to start with cucumbers, clean them well, cut them up, cut off the ends, and that's super important. I'm going to put a clove of garlic in there as well. If you love the flavor of garlic, then you can slice it up and put that in there. But if you slice it up, it gives it a very profound garlicky flavor to it. So I'm going to use it whole because it does lend it a nice flavor without overwhelming it. We are going to add some dill, obviously, and then I have 1 teaspoon each of coriander seeds, mustard seeds, and black pepper. And then we're going to top it off with a red cabbage leaf just to submerge it, to make sure that the cucumbers stay underneath the brine for the 4 days that they're going to ferment. So let's get started. So I have a mason jar, and you want to make sure that mason jar is nice and clean. And I'm going to just add my herbs. So obviously lots of dill, because that gives it its dill pickle quality. So we do that. And then I have my teaspoon each of the coriander, the mustard seed, and the black pepper. And then I also have a bay leaf. Now the bay leaf is used, so I'm going to add this in, and I'm going to add the bay leaf. The bay leaf keeps them from getting mushy as well. So if you want to add a couple of bay leaves, if you're using like very thinly sliced cucumbers, you can do that, and that will help protect it as well. And now we're going to assemble the cucumbers. Now what's really important here is that you put them in there so that they're tightly packed, because once you pour the brine in, you don't want any one of those cucumbers to rise above the level of the brine. We're going to add the cabbage leaf to help control that to some degree, but you want to make sure that they're nicely packed in there so that nothing comes up to the top. So we're going to just pack it in. So like I said, you want to make sure that they're nicely tightly packed in there. I'm going to add the garlic clove here at the end. Okay, so it's pretty well packed. And now I'm going to use this cabbage leaf to kind of keep them submerged. I only had red cabbage. If you do not want the end product to have a tinge of red in it, then get regular cabbage and do that. Use that instead. And then you want to cover that, push that in there. Whoops. I'll put this other piece over it. Okay, and then I'm going to pour in the brine. So the brine is made with about 1.5 tablespoons of Himalaya salt and 2 cups of warm water. So you want to heat up the water to make sure that the salt dissolves properly. Let it cool down, because you don't want to add hot liquid to your cucumbers, because it'll give it a weird sort of mushy quality right away. So then we just add that in. And you want to make sure all the vegetables are submerged completely. So once you've done that, you want to cover it up, and you don't want to cover it too tightly, because you want to leave a little bit of air, a little bit of space for this to ferment. And then in about 4 days, you're going to check it. So actually you can check it in 2 days. If there's any sort of scum developing on the top, which might happen, just spoon that off. But again, the fermentation process gives off some gases, and if you seal this too tightly, when you open it, it could be quite explosive. So you want to leave it slightly on the loose side. Then you're going to store this for about 4 to 7 days. So it depends on your preference. In fact, if you like a crispier pickle, you might want to do it for 3 days and then see how it goes, or check it at that point. But 4 days is about the time frame that you would want, and you want to keep it in the room of your home that is the warmest. So I keep mine in the kitchen, but you don't want it not too hot. So I wouldn't do it in the laundry room, for example, because then that might be too much. Then check it at 4 days, see if you like that texture, and then once you decide it's done fermenting and you're good with the quality of that pickle, then you keep it in the refrigerator. So I'm going to put this in storage, and then I'm going to come back and show you what the pickles look like once they're done. So this is a sample that I made 4 days ago, and they smell incredible. They're delicious. These did not create that scum on top. I didn't have that on this batch, which is nice. The last batch I made did have it, and it can be a visual turnoff if that happens, but it doesn't mean that anything is wrong. It's just that's what happens when you ferment. So they look like a regular pickle. Once you put them in the refrigerator and they start to cool down, they take on this sort of hue that you would most traditionally associate with a pickle. They are loaded with flavor, so let's just give it a try. So yummy and so good for you. So you can keep that in storage in the refrigerator for a couple of weeks and they'll be totally fine. And there you have a delicious recipe that's good for your health. So there you have another great way, delicious way that you can move closer to your health goals. So I want to hear from you. Do you guys out there, do you pickle your vegetables? Do you make cucumbers that are pickled? Do you anything? What fermented foods do you make, and how do you make them? There are some fermented processes that include sugar. I prefer not to use a lot of sugar in my diet because I just don't like the flavor of, like, let's say a sweet pickle, but some people do that. So I want to hear how you go about fermenting your vegetables. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can click on the link below and it'll bring you over to the website and you can make your comments there. Thanks so much for checking in, everybody. As always, it's a pleasure to be with you. If you like tips like this and you're looking for more of them, then you can come on over to BarbaraMendezNutrition.com and you can sign up for the mailing list there. Once you do, you will automatically receive an email from me every Monday with either a written or a video blog with some recipe or suggestion or inspirational tip to help move you closer to your health goals. You can follow me on Facebook or Twitter, and if there's anybody that you know that would benefit or want to know about information that I share, please pass on the videos to them. Thanks so much. Have a great week, and I will see you next time.